What's happening? Because you know it's your boy B-High Radio Shout in. Stepping in the building, I got a friend and family member to the show off in this thing, a community activist. I mean, when I talk about putting it down for the town, saving lives and changing lives all at the same time. If you're homeless and you need somebody to help is on the way with Mr., or should I say Dr. Terence Lester. What the hell's going on, man?
Bruh, I'm so grateful to be here with you, man.
Glad
For
to
real,
have you in
man.
this thing, man.
You know what I mean? And we go back.
Go all the way back. When you talk about the sandbox, see, you know, I like to tell Wick all the time my stories at Ben Hill of when I used to be trucking folks and, you know, hitting folks all over the place. You know, your daddy was one of my basketball coaches.
Yeah.
You know, one of the greatest men to ever, you know, help my life along the way early on as well. And I mean, I just recall a young Terence Lester out there leading the way as a young quarterback back in those days.
Yeah, I was quarterback in Ben Hill. You know, you know what?
Batman, where you at? Batman, where you at?
Yeah.
You know, we gonna call everybody out. But no, man, let's get straight to it though, Terence. When it comes to homelessness in Atlanta, man, I know you done fought a good fight for years, over a decade. Really just helping out the homeless in Atlanta, man. What was it that made you really just zero in on that sector right there and say, you know what, I got to give back to the homeless in Atlanta and I got to try to find ways to rectify this situation?
Man, to be honest, I just feel like homelessness is a global issue. Mm-hmm. It's an issue that not many people care too much about. But when it comes down to just basic respect of the human worth of a person, man, you see people disrespecting those who are unhoused, calling them all types of names, rolling up their windows. Man, it just does something to me. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I can identify. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think everybody can really identify what it means to be overlooked, to be misunderstood, to be excluded, to be pushed aside. And I don't know, man, I think God placed it on my heart to just be passionate about this particular subject.
When you got out there, man, because, I mean, you done did things like march from Atlanta to D.C., Atlanta to Memphis. I mean, you done slept.
It took 2 months to do that.
And see, that's what I'm knowing. You done also slept outside as a homeless man in real time for a whole week. During that time when you were rubbing shoulders with everybody out here in Atlanta, what was the homeless population saying, man? And what was that like during that time, being able to actually be up close and personal with folks and find out what the struggle was like for real? Yeah.
Man, I remember the night my family dropped me off underneath the bridge, 75, 85, close to Grady Hospital. Man, it was probably a little over a decade ago. Didn't have any change of clothes. I just had a book bag. And one of the reasons I wanted to do that is because oftentimes when we think about the subject of homelessness, we don't think about being proximate to this population. And in my heart, in my mind, I'm like, yo, if I'm going to be serving this population, I want to be bold enough to take off my shoes of privilege so I could be proximate, put on their shoes, right? Yeah. And so when I was out there, man, I know what it was like to be put out of restaurants for asking for water. There was a local shelter that's no longer anymore. I remember walking with some of my friends. This was in December, so it's cold, you know, less than 10 degrees outside, walking the shelters and being turned away because we were 5 minutes past the curfew. I know what it's like to be put out of places while you're trying to charge your phone or not having access to restrooms or hygiene or public sanitation and all of that, man. And the consensus in this community, one, I learned that when you are unhoused, people who are unhoused band together. I didn't have a tent. They rallied together and got me a tent. I didn't have a blanket. They gave me a blanket. Man, when my feet were getting wet and cold because of the wind chill and it was raining, my friend Tony went into his tent and gave me his last pair of donated socks. And man, it makes you think about, like, man, there are people who don't have anything but are willing to give you everything because they're about the community, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, like, just hearing these stories, man, of hardship. And everybody's story is unique. Everybody's story is different. And sometimes when we talk about this subject, people generalize it. They want to throw everybody who's experiencing homelessness in one or two buckets. Right? You chose this because you're addicted to drugs or you have something going on with your mind. But homelessness is not monolithic. Everybody doesn't have the same story. Everybody's story is unique. I've met moms who were fleeing domestic violence, children who run away from home because the home life is more violent than it is outside. I've met people who've lost jobs. My friend Tony, I just mentioned, that was years ago. He was wrestling with the terminal illness. He's no longer alive because he couldn't access health care. There's so many different stories, man, and I just think the greatest thing I've learned just on this journey and from that campaign is, man, you got to be proximate to people because you can't meet a need of someone that you've never met. You got to be up close to people, right? Yeah. And I kind of started the organization that I lead right now just from that campaign. I actually started Love Beyond Walls off of my cell phone.
My God. In this great city of Atlanta, though, Terrence, I mean, what are things that you think need to occur? Yeah. Do you think that we can eliminate homelessness in Atlanta, or can we just make it a little better? I mean, what do you think needs to happen in order for
So this is what is happening nationally, right? You got, so there, can I put on some scholarship hat right quick?
Put it on.
Yeah. So there are two mass homelessness eras that political scientists identify. You have the homelessness era that happened during the Great Depression, and then you have the mass homelessness era that happens underneath the Reagan administration, which is known as chronic homelessness.
Okay.
I propose, or I suggest, that we're heading into a third mass homelessness era, and we're seeing this through research, which is basically the era of not being able to afford somewhere to stay. This is a national issue and a national crisis. There are not enough units to actually house people. And when you think about people who are experiencing homelessness, it's even shorter. Like there are laws right now that are being created to punish people for not having anywhere to go, not having access to a shelter bed, not having access to a communal or transitional living space, not having access. And what laws are actually doing is actually saying we're going to punish these people for not having anywhere to go because they're sleeping outside. I think cities and states should start investing more in having accessible housing for those who are unhoused. And yeah, we've seen like the city of Atlanta do small projects, which is great, but we need this on a mass scale. People are going to sleep outside every single night. There are going to be people right now, we're heading into the winter months, that die of hypothermia because they don't have anywhere to go. There's not enough places to go. And when you go and talk to people and you say, yeah, we're doing all of these things, but no, like we need the whole community coming involved and being involved on this subject. We need the stakeholders. We need community organizations. We need people in the trenches. We need people who are actually experiencing homelessness, because one of the things that I have a problem with is that when you hear of projects and plans, you never hear from the voices of those who are actually experiencing the plight. Yeah. And we got to stop this distance, man.
Yeah. During your time of service, though, Terrence, what have been some of the most compelling stories that just kind of broke you all the way down? Because it's one thing for us to be driving down the street and we see homelessness, but when you get into the trenches with them and you experience it and you know what's really going on in real time and in real life, what was it that you saw that blew your mind, sir?
Man, you just shared a podcast on your community page. A lady by the name of Keisha. I met her underneath a bridge, and basically it's in the West End. She actually comes under this bridge to be with community, but she goes to the expressway to stand on the corner to ask for money. I noticed her because of what the people in the cars were doing, turning their heads, locking the doors, yelling obscene things out of the window. I decided with my friend, my brother Matt, we decided to stop, and I engaged her in the conversation. I asked her if she wanted to be on the podcast because my podcast interviews people who are unhoused to give them a voice.
Come on.
She says, yeah. And come to find out, she's sitting down talking to me, and she tells me that she's on the side of the road and she has cancer. And they broke my heart, bro. Yeah. You want to know why?
Why?
Because people don't know what's on the other side of a sign. They don't know the struggle. They don't know what it took for this woman to get up, have the courage to ask for help, but yet be dismissed, looked down upon. You know, I had one of my friends who's living on the street said there's sometimes people will roll down the window and play like they're going to hand them something and then roll up the window and laugh and drive away. You don't know what's on the other side of the story.
You know, it's a special place in hell for those people. But
you know, bro, and it's like she's out there battling cancer, limited resources, limited support. Women and children have the lowest amount of accessible resources in the country. Mm-hmm. There are more resources for men and very few resources for women and children. And, you know, in this conversation, she's just talking to me about her faith, about her hope, about her love for family. And you get to see her as a person. And oftentimes, many people don't get a chance to see the humanity of a person who's unhoused because all they see is no address. And you got to see more than no address. You got to see that this is somebody's auntie, somebody's daughter, that's somebody's son, that's somebody's grandson, somebody's father. This is a person with a story, with real feelings and real emotions. You know what she tells me?
What'd she say?
She says, I asked her, I said, do people ever treat you mean out here? Because I was watching and she says, yeah. I said, how do you get past that? She says, you know, there's always going to be one person that sees me.
Come on now.
Next, she says it hurts her feeling, but there's always that one person. Somebody may be watching this. Are you that one person?
Yeah.
Are you going to be that one person that rolls down the window, and even if you don't have anything to give, look at a person in the eyes and ask them their name?
Yeah.
It's so, man, you can affirm the worth and value of a person when you just ask them their name.
Yeah.
Ask them how they're doing. This society, man, has kind of caused us to just be in a place where we're so dismissive of people, especially those who are suffering.
Yeah.
M.L. King said it best. He says, we live in a beloved community, a world house. And what I think that he was saying is the world is our address.
Come on
and
now.
Anybody that you come in contact with is your neighbor.
That's right.
Whether they have an address or not.
Okay, can you break it down into numbers, though, Terence? I mean, how many people are actually out here homeless, sir?
Yeah, I was just looking this up. I led a homelessness panel last night in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And stats show since 2022 that it's over 600,000 people who are unhoused in the country. But that data isn't true.
Oh.
And the reason why the data isn't true is because how do you take a census?
Of homeless people.
No, how do you take a census?
Well, you got to go and get everybody, but you're not going to be. You go to the house,
you
but
fill
you're
out
not
a
going
card,
to the
right?
homeless. Yeah.
You fill out a card and you turn your information in, you mail it back, or you have to be what? Counted.
Exactly.
Well, let me ask you this. If you're unseen, how can you be
counted? I'm with you.
So that number is actually, it could be more. And then you got to talk about hidden homelessness. You got chronic homelessness. This is like what you see when you ride down the street and you see somebody living on the sidewalk or living outside. But then you got to talk about acute homelessness. This is homelessness where people are couch surfing.
Yeah.
They're living with friends. They don't own their own place, but they're with somebody else. We got a lot of college students who are actually experiencing homelessness right now, trying to finish school.
Exactly.
I mean, you're a professor.
Yeah. No, I see it.
You see it?
Come on. I see it in on the schools. I see it in the workforce. You got people working 40 hours a week still can't find a place to stay because they can't afford nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
What needs to occur to cure this, man?
Man, I think we need to get real honest about this issue. We got to decriminalize homelessness itself. And when I say decriminalize, we have to break free from the mentality that just because somebody is unhoused, that means that they deserve to be punished.
Yeah.
That they deserve to be punished or excluded. Then we got to talk about how do we create more accessible housing. I was doing a documentary in the state of Tennessee. My dissertation was actually a documentary called Homesick.
Yeah.
I lived on the streets in Tennessee, and I shot interviews because Tennessee was the first state in the United States of America to make homelessness a Class E felony. You can be given a felony for sleeping outside, even if there are no accessible beds, right?
Oh my God!
And so I was living on the streets, and I interviewed this brother by the name of Howard. Shout out to Howard, formerly unhoused individual.
Yeah,
overcame it. Was living under a bridge. But he says there's a difference between affordable housing and low-income housing. I said, what do you mean by that? He says, well, most people are talking about, we need just more affordable housing to solve the plight of homelessness. He says there are stewardesses who fly on airplanes that can't afford houses. There are school teachers who can't even afford housing right now.
Yeah.
He says affordable housing are for people who with entry-level jobs or have careers. He says, man, I was formerly unhoused. I can't afford an affordable house.
Yeah.
He says we need more low-income housing.
My God.
More accessible housing, more housing where even if I don't make a living wage, I have enough to afford. I have enough to afford a lower income house.
That's right. Okay. Love Beyond Walls, man.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that program and how many lives have you helped and saved doing that?
Yeah, man. Started the organization a little over a decade ago. We have distributed over 5 million resources, anything from hygiene items. We've built showers, self-contained shower units here locally in the city of Atlanta, but all around the country. We've helped a little over 400 people get off of the streets by connecting them to housing, getting them reunited with family members, all types of stuff. We've helped people get identification cards, recover their social security cards. We've given access to or a space where people can actually come and learn skills to be employed.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands of people, man. Each year we have over 2,000-3,000 volunteers every single year who come and help serve families who are impoverished in our community in the food desert, because that's where our headquarters is. I mean, people getting access to food, people getting access to hygiene and sanitation, people getting access to just community.
Yeah.
And our organization is built on community because I believe one of the greatest ways to overcome any struggle is to be connected with somebody who cares.
How difficult is it for you running this program, though, Terence?
Oh, man. I mean, it's a lot, bro.
Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for over a decade, 50, 60 hours a week, sometimes with very little resources.
Come on.
But I have the love of my family and the love of the community. I think one of the things that drives me the most to just be in community with people who are overlooked is just the stories, bro. Like knowing somebody got a meal, or we're working in elementary schools, going to start building closets within the Title I schools for students who are unhoused and don't have access to shoes, bro, or socks or undergarments, or the proper clothing sizes, or a family who's sleeping out of a car comes and they're saying that we need blankets because our child is using a coat for a blanket. And we don't want to separate our family because a man can't go into a family shelter, and it's like, it's those stories, man, of hope that keeps me going. Yeah. And this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, if I'm being honest, because somebody did it for me.
Come on.
High school dropout, ex-gang member, could have been dead, locked up, and in jail. You know where we come from. I come from Campbellton Road. I got this hoodie on. PhDs do.
Oh, that's hard.
From Campbellton Road. Overcame that, slept in parks when I was a teenager. Experienced a brief bout of homelessness. Overcame all that and became a PhD and a professor.
Come on.
And instead of trying to use my platform to amass a bunch of stuff for myself, man, I want to live my life as a conduit. I want to be proximate to those who are overlooked, invisible, and lift them up, man. And remind people that they have enough worth and value to overcome the plight.
Come on.
Yeah.
With that being said, though, Terence, people that want to get in contact with you, that want to join the movement and want to help and want to donate and want to support, how can they do that, man?
Yeah. If you want to volunteer, we're always looking for volunteers. LoveBeyondWalls.org. Have a list of activities you can plug into. If you want to contribute, LoveBeyondWalls.org. But if you want to follow me or the organization, it's at Love Beyond Walls. That's all social media. And I'm Terence Lester. I am TERENCELESTER. So, yeah, I just launched a podcast, man. If you want to just get educated on the subject of homelessness,
come on.
And it's not coming from like a political figure or somebody who has a lot of privilege, and you want to hear it straight from the source, check out the Imagine Dignity podcast, because I'm talking to people who are actually going through this experience, and they're able to tell you how they see it from their eyes.
Exactly. Well, hey, man, y'all get down with the movement. This man is going crazy in the community. Get used to his face, because he's going to be back in this thing talking about it all the time.
Yes, sir.
Beehive Radio shouted, Dr. Terence Lester. I'll let y'all in a minute, man. We gone.